Something abnormal is happening right now in Pittsburgh's South Hills housing market. On the surface, this still looks like a strong suburban sellers market with low inventory across Pittsburgh and steady buyer demand, keeping pressure on prices. But once the market is narrowed down to Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, Bethel Park, and South Fayette, a much more even pattern shows up. Some homes are selling with strong activity almost immediately, while others are sitting, reducing their price and chasing the market. That split is what makes this market feel so strange in 2026, and it matters whether someone is buying, selling, or relocating into the South Hills. If you're trying to understand what is actually happening in these suburbs, this breakdown explains the real story behind the stats. I'm Tim Phillips, a local Pittsburgh realtor, and it's my goal with this channel to be your #1 trusted resource with making a move to our area, and I would love to be your agent whenever that time comes. So this video is focused on the South Hills suburbs that consistently come up in relocation conversations and move up buyer searches. It's Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, Bethel Park, and South Fayette. These areas stand apart from the city-wide Pittsburgh averages because they attract buyers who are prioritizing schools, neighborhood feel, commuting options, and long-term resale value. The challenge is that broad Pittsburgh headlines do not tell the full story. The overall metro remains more affordable than many U.S. housing markets, with median prices being in the low to mid 200,000s, and homes generally moving in a few weeks. But the South Hills often operates at a different price level with different buyer expectations and different speed. This is why this market deserves its own conversation. So the big picture. At the metro level, Pittsburgh is still defined more by stability than volatility. Recent market data points to a relatively balanced pattern of demand, modest appreciation, and slower, steadier movement compared to the fast cycle Sunbelt markets. That backdrop matters because it means buyers and sellers in this region are usually responding to local fundamentals rather than dramatic boom and bust swings. The South Hills sits on top of that stable base, but the strongest suburbs trade at a premium because demand concentrates around school districts, amenities, and suburban lifestyle advantages that each area provides. So Peters Township, Mount Lebanon, Upper St. Clair are frequently associated with strong buyer demand and higher price points. While Mount Lebanon has the walkability, Peters has the lower taxes and more bang for your buck purchasing power. Upper St. Clair has a good space with a classic neighborhood vibe. Also to mention Bethel Park and South Fayette, they appeal to buyers as well for slightly different combinations of walkability, school reputation, and housing stock. So when someone says Pittsburgh is affordable, that may be true broadly, but it can be misleading for the South Hills buyer shopping in that $400,000 to $800,000 price range. In these suburbs, affordability is relative, competition is selective, and buyers expect more for the money than they did a few years ago. What feels abnormal, the abnormal part of this market is not that demand disappeared. The abnormal part is that inventory is low and longer days on market are happening at the same time. In a textbook seller's market, tight inventory usually means homes move quickly across the board, but that is not what many agents and buyers are seeing in 2026. Instead, the market has become highly selective. A beautifully presented, correctly priced home in a desirable pocket of the South Hills can still move incredibly fast and attract strong offers. We are still seeing multiple offers in some cases. A similar home with dated finishes, functional issues, or ambitious pricing can sit noticeably longer, even though overall inventory remains limited. That creates confusion for both consumers and agents. Sellers hear that inventory is low and assume any number will work, while buyers hear that the market is competitive and assume every listing is going to be a fight. In reality, both impressions are only half true. This is a story of two markets. The best way to describe the South Hills right now is like two markets existing side by side. Market one, the A listings. The first market is the A listing market. These are homes with updated kitchens, baths, neutral finishes, strong curb appeal, and a location that buyers already know and want. In places like Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, and certain sections of Mount Lebanon and South Fayette, this kind of home still gets attention very quickly because buyers have limited patience with looking for homes in these markets. These homes benefit from urgency. If the price aligns with recent comparable sales and the house shows well online and in person, buyers will move decisively. It may not always mean 10 offers, but it often means strong terms, less negotiation, and a much shorter selling timeline than the market average. Now, market 2, that's the stale listing market. The second market is the stale listing market. These are the homes where buyers hesitate because the property needs work, has a location drawback, or was introduced at a price that the market immediately rejected. These homes are not unsellable, but they are far more vulnerable to sitting, absorbing price cuts, and getting less favorable terms and conditions. This is why the market can feel contradicting. Both statements are true at once. There is still not enough inventory in the South Hills, and there are still listings that sit longer than sellers expect. That contradiction is exactly what people are sensing when they say the market feels weird. So you might be asking yourself, what does this mean by suburb? Each South Hills suburb has its own version of this story. Peters Township tends to attract buyers looking for newer subdivisions, larger lots in some areas, and strong perceived long-term value, which supports higher pricing but also raises buyer expectations on condition and finish level. Upper St. Clair often commands premium attention because of its school reputation and establishing housing stock. But that also means buyers compare listings closely and can be unforgiving when a home feels dated relative to the asking price. Mount Lebanon is different because lifestyle and location are often part of the value equation. Buyers may pay for charm, walkability, and neighborhood identity there, but they still react strongly to a home that may lack functionality or projects that they don't want to take on. Bethel Park often attracts a broader mix of buyers and can offer relative value within the South Hills, but price sensitivity can be sharper when buyers are comparing it directly with nearby alternatives. South Fayette continues to appeal to buyers looking for growth, newer housing options, and school-driven demand, which can keep well-positioned listings moving whenever they match what today's buyers are expecting. This kind of video is especially useful for relocators because it explains how to think about the market before they arrive. Someone moving from another state may assume all low inventory markets behave the same, but they don't. The South Hills is more nuanced than that. Buyers relocating into these suburbs need to know that preparation matters, but so does selectivity. Relocators should understand 3 things. The best homes can still move quickly, especially in top school district locations. Not every listing deserves urgency, even in a competitive market. Pricing power depends heavily on condition, location, and buyer perception, not just on low inventory. That is helpful because it prevents 2 common mistakes: overpaying out of fear and dismissing the entire market as overheated. For a relocation buyer, the real opportunity is knowing when to move aggressively and when to negotiate patiently. So here's my advice for buyers. If you're buying in the South Hills right now, the first step is accepting that there is no single buyer strategy that works for every listing. The right move depends on which track the home falls into and what matters most for you in your situation. For the A listings, buyers need to be ready before the home hits their favorite app. That means strong financing, clear budget discipline, and the ability to tour quickly when the right property becomes available. If the home is in a highly desired section of Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, or South Fayette, and if it's presented well, waiting too long usually means that the home is probably sold and it won't be around for you to look at anyways. For homes that have been on the market longer, buyers should slow down and investigate. Look at price, history, compare condition against competing listings, and ask what objection other buyers likely had. Those are often the situations where negotiation becomes realistic, where buyers can create value without being involved in a highly competitive offer situation. Now, my advice for sellers. Sellers in the South Hills need to understand that low inventory does not automatically protect an overpriced listing. Buyers are more analytical now. They have more access to information than ever before in human history, and they are comparing every home to the best recent sale they have seen online. The market still rewards good listings, but it punishes wishful pricing faster than many sellers expect. The most effective seller strategy in this environment is pretty straightforward. Price from evidence, not from emotion, using the closest comparable sales and adjusting honestly for updates, lot quality, and layout. Present the home like it needs to compete, because higher-end suburban buyers often expect move-in ready condition or a discount that reflects the work ahead. Treat the first 2 weeks as the most important marketing window, because once a listing goes stale, it becomes much easier for buyers to negotiate from a position of skepticism. The cost of missing the market early is not just extra time. It often becomes a lower final sale price because repeated price reductions change the way buyers interpret the property. Is this a crash? This does not look like a crash story. The more accurate description is it's a reset inside a still desirable suburban market. Higher mortgage rates, elevated price expectations, and more selective buyers are changing the speed of the market without necessarily destroying the demand. The South Hills still benefits from the same structural factors that have supported it for years. Strong school-driven demand, suburban lifestyle appeal, and limited inventory in the most desirable pockets. What has changed is that buyers are no longer willing to pay top dollar for average execution. That distinction matters. A crash would imply broad-based value erosion and collapsing demand, while a reset means the market is still healthy but more disciplined. In 2026, the South Hills is way more disciplined than distressed. If you're planning a move into Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, Mount Lebanon, Bethel Park, or South Fayette, the smartest thing you can do is stop thinking about the South Hills as one single market. Each suburb has its own patterns, and within each suburb, there is a real gap between the listings that are winning and the listings that are struggling. That is the abnormal part of the story. This market is still competitive, but it is no longer forgiving. Buyers can win here with the right strategy, and sellers can still do very well, but both sides need to understand which version of the market they are actually in. A buyer looking in Bethel Park is searching for something very different than a move-up seller in Upper St. Clair, or a relocation family targeting Peters Township. If you want help reading the South Hills market based on your price point or timeline or the specific suburb you're focused on, reach out to me directly at my email address below. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you. If this breakdown was helpful, like the video, subscribe for more Pittsburgh market updates, and share it with someone trying to decide where to live in the South Hills. I'm Tim Phillips, a local Pittsburgh realtor, and it's my goal with this channel to be your #1 trusted resource with making a move to our area, and I would love to be your agent of choice whenever that time comes. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.